Radio. Good morning to you. Friday here. That means it is time for us to get in with Dawn Pannell for some Riveting Radio real estate. Good morning.
Good morning, Jeff.
How are you doing?
I'm doing great.
Got a big weekend. It's very nice. There's going to be a lot of people coming into the Shelton area, which probably means if there's a little extra time, folks will drive around and look at the houses, maybe see some of the houses for sale. There's still a lot of them?
There's still a few.
Okay.
A few more than there have been, so things are improving in that score, but it's still... Inventory is still down. So,
okay.
But yeah, it'd be a perfect weekend to go driving around and take a look at for sale signs and see what you want to go look at.
Very nice.
Yeah.
What do we got on the topics today?
I thought today I would do something a little bit different. I wanted to talk about a career in real estate.
Okay.
Because we're at a place where we can start using more and more agents. We actually, in our office, have 2 empty offices that we have room for folks.
Wow.
And so I wanted to kind of encourage people to maybe think about that if they're thinking about a career change, or they just retired and want something to do, or they're getting out of high school and looking for a challenging career where you get to talk to a lot of people and look at people's houses. I mean, how much more fun is that?
This seems a little counterintuitive to me because if I'm mistaken, you work off commission, right?
Yes, yes.
So why would you want more people involved in this?
Well, you know, you're right. It does seem a little odd. I thought when I was going through it myself, I thought, well, that's kind of weird. But there's so much work to be done. You know, we don't want to lose folks to the Thurston County market, for example.
Right.
We want to keep them in Mason County, so we want to have enough folks to take care of their needs. And you know, I'm certainly as busy now as I really want to be, you know, and so somebody else to come in and pick up the slack would be nice.
Okay, that makes sense.
So,
okay.
Yeah, and our office, as I said, has plenty of work to go around. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the process.
Yeah.
It's a little confusing. So you have to go to school. There's usually an online school is the way I did it, and that seems to be the easiest way. So you go through an agency. I used Rockwell International, and you sign up with them, and they send you books, and then you take this whole series of online courses, and they have tests, and but it's kind of fun. It's sort of interactive, and it's kind of a fun way to go through it. And then at the end of that process, which I think in my case it took like 2 months to do, but they usually say 3 or 4 is pretty average to go through it, depending on how much time you have. You have to do a certain number of hours, and then at the end of that, they do a bunch of practice tests, and then you sign up for the statewide test, and that can be pretty daunting. I was kind of surprised. I thought I was pretty well prepared when I went up to take this thing, and it was harder than I anticipated.
Really?
A lot of questions, a lot of math involved, which is not my strong suit, but I got through it. And so you have to pass there's a state portion and a national portion of the test. Sometimes what happens is people will pass one or the other, but you still can't get your license because you have to pass both.
Oh.
So in that case, then you would have to go back and take the one that you didn't pass. I was fortunate and passed both of them on my first try. So then they take your picture and you go and get fingerprinted, and they send you this state license, and that enables you to go to work. Normally what folks do is they have already made contact with an office. So in my case, I had already talked with Christy at John L. Scott, and so she was very helpful in hooking me up with the classes, and I even kind of went down to the office a couple times while I was still working on the program to kind of see how things went. I went to their weekly meetings and that kind of thing.
Oh, okay.
So when I passed the test, I was ready to go, and I got my office and set things up, and she actually gave me my first listing to deal with, and so I was off and running. So different offices do it differently. Our office is set up to where you split the commission between the office and the agent.
Okay.
Some agents or some offices have it set up where they have a set, they call it a desk fee, to where you pay a certain amount per month and then you get all of your commission.
Oh, sure.
So there are advantages to both. I like the split because that way if you don't make anything, you're not paying anything.
Right.
So, but it just depends on what you're comfortable with. That, to be honest with you, was the hardest thing for me to get used to. So people need to realize that, hey, this is a fluctuating business.
Yeah.
I was used to, a set paycheck.
Mm-hmm.
You don't get that here. So you have to be prepared to ride the waves.
So you do this at your leisure. You can put in 40, 80, 20 hours a week at this if you want.
Exactly. Yeah. You're an independent contractor.
Okay.
So you have the office usually in a location, and that gives you a mailing address, and you get the benefit of the advertising and that kind of thing. But you are an independent contractor. You pay the L&I fees and all that kind of stuff through the state. You have to renew your license every 2 years, which includes some continuing education, so you have to be prepared for that. But yeah, you put in whatever you're comfortable putting in.
What's the personality type?
It helps to be somebody who likes people.
Okay.
You're going to be dealing with all different kinds of people. Helps to have a good, solid background in the community.
Oh yeah.
I was really fortunate to from my past careers to know a lot of folks, and that has been very helpful.
Okay.
But one thing we do in our office is each agent has a set amount of time during the month that they cover the floor, we call it. So you are in the office during that either morning or afternoon. And for the first year and a half, probably 90% of my clients came from people who just happened to walk in the door, and I was there.
Oh.
And so I got that sale. In fact, my biggest sale to date came that way.
Just someone off the street.
Somebody just was walking around town and dropped in and ended up being a $400,000 sale.
Wow.
So that really is nice. And so you do probably 6 or 7 of those a month, depending on who's available. So that's not a huge investment in time. And then if you're in the middle of transactions, obviously you spend more time. But yeah, you can, and that was, for me, the attraction is that you could set your own schedule and work around whatever else is going on in your life. So
interesting.
It is a very fun career. I have enjoyed it thoroughly, and I would really encourage anybody who has questions or would like more information to give me a call or stop by the office, and I'm sure Christy would be happy to talk to them as well.
We've got about 3 minutes left, so let's move on to our continuing conversation of the steps and addendums. This is what we're working on today.
We're working on addendums today. We went through the original sort of 5-page boilerplate, which you fill out, and you're going to sign that. So all of the things that you fill in are on the first page, and then the next 4 pages are just explaining what you just signed. So, and please remember, too, that everybody gets a copy of all of this paperwork. So you can take it home and read through it and make sure you understand it. So the first addendum I want to talk about, and this is a very common one because it's the financing addendum. Most people, when they're buying a house, are financing it.
Right.
Very few are coming in with cash, although that does happen. And so obviously if it's a cash purchase, there is no financing addendum. Okay. The advantage of a financing addendum is that it follows the transaction all the way through to closing. So if for some reason you get through all of the inspections and the appraisals and all that kind of stuff, and you get down to the very end and all of a sudden you find out you can't get financing, you can still back out of the deal and get your earnest money back because it follows all the way to the end. So the first thing they're going to ask you is what type of loan you're applying for. Is it a conventional loan? Is it an FHA loan? Is it a VA loan? Is it a USDA loan? And that's where you need to have talked to your lender already. We spent a lot of time a while ago talking about how important it is to get to your lender, find out what you're qualified for, and find out what kind of loan you're approved for. This becomes important too to the seller because if it's a VA loan or if an FHA loan, for example, that puts more restrictions on the seller. They usually have to contribute to closing costs.
Okay.
There are requirements that go with both of those loans that directly affect the seller. So there are sellers who say, I don't want to do VA or FHA loans, and so that usually is specified in the listing that they won't do those things. But my experience is, yes, it's more more on the seller, but if it results in the sale of your house, it could be worth it.
Okay.
Worth it. So, but that's the first thing that you ask, and then also, are they putting anything down? So sometimes with VA or FHA loans, it can be zero down, but that's important for the seller to know
Sure.
that you're not contributing anything as a buyer to this transaction. You're not putting anything down. It can go as high as 50% down, or it can be a specific dollar amount that you're going to put down. But sellers usually look at that to see how serious you are about buying this house. And then the other thing that you're going to be asked is, do you want the seller to pay for any closing costs? And that's totally up to the buyer what they want to do. Typically, it's about 3% is what the seller's or what the buyer's closing costs will be. So a lot of times they will ask the seller to pay those costs. But if you have a seller that absolutely refuses to do that, then that becomes a negotiation back and forth.
Okay.
And then the other thing that they're going to talk to you about is the appraisal. And there is a contingency in this financing addendum that says that if you have an appraisal and it comes in at a lower amount than you're offering, that you can go back to the seller and renegotiate the price.
Oh, good. Okay.
Yeah. So you've got that protection as well. So if you offer 250, say, and the appraisal comes in at 230, then you can either ask the seller to reduce the price to 230, or sometimes you have the option of making up that difference yourself as a buyer.
Okay.
As a buyer.
Huh.
Yeah. So
Interesting.
that's the financing. That's only a 2-page addendum, but you fill out all of the blank pages or the blank parts, and then you sign that at the bottom, and then that becomes part of the contract. So,
how can folks get in touch with you? Where do they go online? What are the phone numbers to call for Dawn?
They can call me on my cell phone at 360-490-4493. That's probably the best way to reach me. Or they can stop in at the corner of 3rd and Railroad at the John L. Scott office. If I'm not there, there is always somebody in the office who knows where I am, and they can either transfer to my cell phone, or they can reach me wherever I happen to be. They keep pretty good track of me. So, and then they can go on the John L. Scott website, and I have a direct link through there as well.
All right. Dawn Pannell, Riveting Radio Real Estate. Have a great weekend. Have a good time at Pancakes in the Park. It's going to be a lot of fun Sunday morning.
Hope to see everybody there at Pancakes in the Park. There will be a lot of fun.
And we will be back with you in 2 weeks for more Riveting Radio Real Estate.
We will. Thank you.
That does it for us here. It's 9 o'clock. Have a great day. Have a great weekend. The Mariners at 10. Tom Hartman for about an hour. And then we'll have Dave Ramsey. And, oh, man, have a great weekend, everybody.
You're listening to Daybreak on I-Fiber One.